This is the xa'isla handbook part 7. In this video we're going to take a look at palatal velar sounds. So palatal velar sounds are also very unique. The palate refers to the hard palate at the roof of the mouth. So if you've been paying attention since the beginning, the sounds that we started off with were here at the lips. So we started at the front of your vocal tract, and we've been slowly moving our way back. Now we're at the roof of the mouth. So this part here at the very center of the roof of your mouth is called the palate, also referred to as the hard palate. So that's why these letters are here. What happens is that your tongue, this part of your tongue, the top of your tongue, comes up towards your hard palate, and it starts off in that position, and then your tongue kind of moves forward with a lot of these sounds. So that's where these individual sounds are made, and then we have the resonant sounds in the nasal passage. So the hard palate is the very center of the roof of your mouth. The velum is the soft palate behind it. So the velum is back here. So this is the palate. This is the velum. That's where these sounds are generally made. The first sound is followed by a ya sound. So kya, kya, etc. You can think of it like this. Imagine that each palatal velar consonant is followed by a little small raised Y symbol. This is just conceptual. This is not part of the hybrid orthography. I want to point that out. We do not use a small raised Y. This is just for illustration purposes to kind of get you to visualize this. So when you see gyada, when you see this word here, gyada, think of a G and a small raised W, a small raised Y, and then ada, gyada. And we're just realizing there's a typo here. This acute accent is in the wrong place. It should not be on the second A, it should be on the first one, because it's gyada. If you look at the way I wrote this out, I very begrudgingly used phonetic spelling here. This is something I rarely ever do. Normally I would never use phonetic spelling, but I used it in this instance because I want to get you to understand where accent placement is, and also the fact that there is a ya sound here. So gyada, gyada. So you can see I wrote the first syllable in capital letters because it's emphasized. If the acute accent was where it's supposed to be, that would tell you, you emphasize the first syllable, gyada. When you see cuta, think cuta, cuta. So this is not the way, as I was just talking about this a few minutes, maybe about a minute ago. This is not the way that it's written, but this is an example used for visual guidance. So again, there is no small raised Y in the hybrid orthography. I'm just using this as an example, just as a concept. So please do not rely on seeing any type of raised Y symbol, because it doesn't exist in any xa'isla orthography. So we'll take a look at some examples here. So this one is a little bit, there's more examples because this G is going to sound differently depending on the vowel that comes after it. And this is actually kind of an abbreviated list. I believe I have a revised and edited version somewhere where I added more examples, but for these purposes, I only used 2 examples for each letter. So the first one, as we mentioned, gyada. And you notice this time the acute accent, the little slanted dash, is in the right place. It's on top of the first A, so it's gyada. 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 Also pay attention, it's not gyada. That would be 3 syllables. It's 2 syllables. Gyada. So you say it really quickly. Gya. So again, it's not gya, it's gya. It's very fast, very quick. Gya. Gyada. And gyada means, it refers to something that's here, close to me, the speaker. And there's basically 3 different locations that you can think about when you're speaking xa'isla. There's things that are close to me, the speaker. There's things that are close to you, the listener, the person I'm talking to. And there's somewhere else. There's something that's somewhere else. It's not close to me or you. So gyada means it's here and it's close to me, the person who's speaking. So if I were to hold up a pencil, I would say, Kyadayu gyada. Kyadayu gyada. That means this is a pencil, and it's here close to me, the person who's speaking. The next example here is gyu. Gyu. So you notice it's gyu. Gyu. Again, not giyu, it's gyu. Gyu. And gyu means house. Next is the letter K. This first example is kya. Kya. And that means really. Next we have kyuta. Kyuta means to think. So we have kya, gyu, kya, kyu. Next up is the ejective K. So it sounds like the regular K, except it's more forceful. We're really pushing out air when we say kya, kya. So this first example, which I just used as a visual here, kyadayu, kyadayu. That means pencil. Kyadayu gyada. This is a pencil close to me, the person who's speaking. Kyadayu. Next we have kyu. Kyu. And that means no. Next is X. So first we have hyakya. Hyakya. So we have 2 palatal consonants in this word. So we have the X and the A sounded like hya. Then we have the K followed by the A sounding like kya. So we have a ya sound after both consonants in this word. Hyakya, which means rib. And then we have huquum. Huquum, which is wild rice. It actually refers to the grains. So the grains are actually underground. So when you pull them up, that's huquum. The plant itself is called huquas. So that is a very common occurrence in the language, is that you'll have one word for a part of the plant, like the roots usually sometimes are referred to in a different way than the actual plant itself. So huquum is wild rice grains. Huquas is the wild rice plant or the chocolate lily. And then the letter Y is essentially the same as it is in English. So this first word also has a typo. It's not, this L is supposed to be a regular L. It's not supposed to have an apostrophe on top. So just read this as a regular L. So I have a lot of corrections to make when I revise this, when I do my editing of this document. So This word is yalakwa, and it's also, and I'm just noticing there's no acute accent marker. It should go on top of this first A because it's yalakwa. Yalakwa means to get hurt. So if you hear somebody say kitsi yalakwa, that means don't get hurt. And we have the glottalized Y. Again, if you've been paying attention to the previous videos, we're going to hear a slight pause in front of the second glottalized Y. The first glottalized Y is going to sound like a regular Y because it's at the beginning of the word. But the second Y is going to have a slight pause. So listen closely as I say the word. Ya ya kya wa. Ya ya kya wa. So we say ya, and then there's a very slight pause, very short pause, and the ya kya wa. So again, notice we have another palatalized K, a regular K, followed by an A, which sounds like kya. So ya ya kya wa refers to junk or refuse or garbage. So I have some more explanation here in this paragraph. So in xa'isla, the letter X does not sound like it does in the English word axe. So this is a very common mistake. I'll see people write xa'isla with an X. That does not say X, that says eich, because the X sounds like h by itself. These are X's followed by a vowel. Hya, hyu. If it's at the end of a word, it sounds like h. It's a kind of a hissing sound. So it doesn't sound like axe in English. It sounds more like an H or like a hissing sound. It's a very high kind of sound. So huquum sounds more like huquum. This is another common mispronunciation that I hear. I sometimes hear people say hucum. But listen very closely. This is, we'll see this in the next group of consonants. This is a rounded K. It sounds like qua. So this should sound like quum. Huquum, not hucum. And the X always sounds like this in xa'isla, never sounds like KS or Z as it often does in English. So the letter X does not sound like the KS that the letter X makes in the word axe in English or Texas. It doesn't sound like xylophone in English. It sounds like kya, hya, or hue. Or if it's at the end of the word, it sounds like he. So this is a sound that is commonly misunderstood. It helps not to think about how English works because it operates under totally different principles than xa'isla does. So this is something that's also very important to keep in mind. And I'll say this. English is not xa'isla. Xa'isla is not English. That is something that will help you a lot in understanding the language. So this G, it's not a G sound like it is in English. It's gya when it's followed by an A, or gyu when it's followed by a U. So there's a little bit of, there's kind of hidden sound built into it. And this is because it's easier to type and it's easier to read when you're looking through any written language, any written representation of the xa'isla language. So again, going back to what I was saying before about that imaginary raised Y, I only use that as an example. It doesn't exist in any xa'isla writing system. It doesn't appear in the hybrid orthography. So just keep that in mind. I only use that as an example to visually show that this is gya gu, kya, q, kya, q, hya, hyu. So those are the palatal velar sounds of the xa'isla language. Wa.